Hey guys, it's Jack Ballou. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I got my fuzzy buddy Diamante here. We're coming into winter and I don't clip my horses, so they're pretty fuzzy. But winter is a time when I do a lot of, he wants to show you some other tricks. Winter is a time I do a lot of what people call carrot stretches, and I want to revisit that for you all. The word stretch is actually kind of a misnomer. What we're trying to do with these techniques that have been around for well over a decade now is actually target stability and strength, because you're asking the horse to do a static hold with his body in a particular posture. And it's more about that recruitment than making the neck really stretchy. So the biggest thing is, if you're already doing some of these, and the common one that people do is bring the horse's nose around towards his flank. And that's certainly beneficial. But if you've been doing that for, a couple years at this point, it's time to mix it up and try something new. So what I tend to do is alternate which of these maneuvers I do every 2 weeks. So coming around to the flank is one maneuver. One of my other favorites is to come to the outside of the front foot. So let me just square him up a little bit here. And this is one where you do not want the head to twist sideways. You just want him to come down nice and smooth right next to his fetlock. You'll notice there that his scapula shifted back, and that's what you're looking for. And he stayed pretty evenly weighted on both front feet. Let me check out the other side. What'll happen if they're kind of uneven in their thoracic sling of muscles, or they're really dominant on one shoulder, is they'll try to bend the offside foreleg. And that's something you want to just keep tabs on, and you want to see that resolve. So we'll come down on this side. You see him starting to bend that left knee a little bit. On this side, I want to see him bear weight a little bit more evenly. So coming down to the outside of the fetlock is another variation of your stretch. There's a couple ways to do a forward stretch with the neck. One of them that's used a lot in rehab programs to kind of open the withers area and get a deep lifting of the sternum when it all goes well, is to ask the horse to come straight in here towards his chest. Now, if your horse is super tight in his poll, he might only be able to get kind of here where Diamante is. You want him to come all the way into his pectorals. That's not bad. Diamante is getting a little crooked. I'd prefer his neck was straighter. So these are things to keep in mind when you do it at home. He kind of curled his head over to the right there. There is the popular one of coming straight down between the knees and or all the way down to the fetlock. So you see I'm still getting the turning of the head to the right. And that's kind of a pattern for Diamante. He's usually pretty blocked on the left side. So these techniques are really beneficial for him. We would call this maneuver a flexion pattern, where you're asking him to flex round. You commonly want to balance that out with an extension pattern. And this is one I find a lot of horses struggle with. And this is where you take your bait. You can use a cookie, or I use these Healthy Horse treats because they fit in my pocket and they don't break apart, and they're delightful little things. You want to take the horses for the extension stretch. You want to take his nose as forward and out as he'll go. That's pretty good there. You want his front feet to stay parked. You're asking him to really, it's what it sounds like, extend the spine. Some horses will be able to come all the way up here. Diamante's kind of a short, stocky guy, so that was pretty good for him. But basically, that's a full range of motion to go from all the way down between the knees all the way out to an extension pattern. So just to kind of review here, your basic, they're still called carrot stretches all these years later, but like I say, it's not about stretching, it's about asking the horse to come around and hold a posture for up to 10 seconds if you can. Now, ways that you can vary it: if you're already doing the techniques I just showed you, you can add an unstable surface. So that's what I have over here. There's certainly fancier pads that are sold nowadays. This is just a little kid's gymnastic mat that I've cut into little sections. So you can place your horse's front feet or back feet or all 4 feet. It depends on your map. And you can repeat those stretches, and you're going to get a totally different recruitment. So let's just see what happens now when I ask Diamante to come down to the outside of his fetlock here. See, now he's totally unweighted that right front, whereas before he didn't when he was on a stable surface. So my takeaway is, if you've been doing these maneuvers consistently, first of all, give yourself a pat on the back, because that's awesome. To continue getting value out of them, though, you do need to add some novelty. Let me just pull him off the mat. You do need to add some novelty so that the horse doesn't become robotic about the technique. And the squishy mat is a way to add novelty. Sometimes I'll also stand the horse between two ground poles. You want the poles about knee height, and that adds a visual stimulation, as well as it can prevent the horse from swinging around with his body if that's a tendency. So that's another way to add novelty. General rule, like I say, you want to hold the posture for up to 10 seconds if you can. Sometimes I get the question, like, what if my horse gets nippy? To be honest, with some horses that are really pushy about treats, I don't do these techniques. Generally, most horses can compartmentalize and learn that you're doing a specific technique, and they don't get bully with you on the ground. Like Diamante's standing here like a gentleman right now. He's not in my pockets. That's not the case with every horse. But if your horse gets really eager about your carrot or whatever you're using, I have seen people be really creative and put the carrot on the end of a little wand or bamboo stick or something, so you're not like, you know, your fingers aren't in harm's way. That's a really creative way to do it. And then the horse learns to follow the bait around to his hip, and you could be all the way up here, for example. So those are some ideas about how to vary your what's been called carrot stretches for the last couple of decades. The science seems to show that in order for them to be effective, and they are super effective at recruiting the multifidus muscles along the spine, you need to practice them ideally a couple times a day. So before or after you ride, so that's twice a day, 5 days a week is really the sweet spot for these techniques to work. It's not about the duration of them, it's about the frequency of them. So they only work if you're consistent. Diamante wants to show you his little party trick, which is his owner one time taught him to smile. I don't totally know the cue, but I think it goes like that. Oh, there it is, there it is. That's his smile right there. Okay, so we're gonna end on that note. This has been Jack Ballou. Thanks for tuning in.